Picture a room before anyone knows you're filming. Fluorescent lights, folding chairs arranged in a horseshoe, a projector warming up in the corner. Somewhere, an electric kettle clicks off. This is not a boardroom, this is not a pitch competition. Nobody here has raised a Series A. And yet, for the next hour, this room will run on a currency that is older than money itself. Folks, we're not here to talk about some kind of a networking club. We are here to talk about something that has quietly decided the shape of every human life you have actually gone to admire. Why some people keep meeting the right people and others never do. The club, it was just the place where I happened to catch it in the act. Here's what most people picture when they hear networking clubs: a glass walled lounge, founders trading numbers over an espresso, a handshake that turns into a wire transfer by Friday. The mythology sold to us by 15 seconds clip, businesses, cards that actually go on to change lives. Now cut the lighting because the room I actually walked into had none of that. An electrician, a packaging supplier, two accountants who'd clearly known each other for a decade, an interior designer flipping through a portfolio on her phone, a printer, the kind who still measures paper stock by feel. No unicorns, no decks, no mention of a race. Just people who fix things, build things, and keep other things running. The parts of an economy that never trend because they were never designed to. This is the first quiet correlation the room offers. Businesses, in its most common form, doesn't look like how the internet actually describes it. Here's a question that is actually worth sitting with. When was the last time you actually saw a plumber go viral? Social media has quietly convinced an entire generation that businesses mean software, funding rounds, app downloads, a founder in a hoodie who's actually explaining distribution to a camera. But when you walk into almost any city, you'll find that its actual infrastructure is built from something that is far less photogenic. An ecosystem of ordinary businesses solving ordinary problems every single day for people who will never ever post about it. The pipe that doesn't leak, the invoice that gets printed on time, the insurance claim that gets filed correctly. Nobody claps for this, nobody screenshots this. But if you go on to remove this, an entire city will stop functioning within a week. This is an insight that is actually worth carrying past this video. Entrepreneurship isn't only the pursuit of the next unicorn. Far more than often, it is the accumulation of thousands of small, unglamorous solutions to problems society runs into constantly. And somebody has to be the one who's actually taking up all of these issues and actively solving them. The room I was standing in wasn't a lesser version of real businesses, right? It was the version that was real the whole time. Now, here's the part that should genuinely unsettle you. Take two people, same intelligence, same ambition, same starting knowledge on the same day, in the same city. 5 years later, look at their lives, and you'd swear they started from entirely different worlds. What actually diverged wasn't talent, it was exposure. One of them kept placing themselves in rooms where new conversations were unavoidable, where a stranger's problem became an idea, and an idea became an introduction, and an introduction became a door that hadn't existed the week before. The other stayed inside the room they already knew. Same people, same conversations, same information that is actually recycled. This isn't any kind of mysticism, it's a mechanism and it runs in a straight line. Exposure changes your inputs. New inputs change how you think. How you think changes what you decide. What you decide becomes the life you end up living. Nobody in that networking room was smarter for having shown up. They were simply exposed to more than they would have been exposed to otherwise. That's the entire mechanism. No magic required. Here is the sentence the entire video has been walking toward. Networking clubs are not in the business of referrals, They are in the business of manufacturing trust. And trust, unlike almost everything else we chase in business, cannot be purchased, cannot be rushed, or cannot be performed in front of a camera. It only compounds. Every meeting attended, every small commitment that you actually keep up to, every introduction that turned out to be worth making. None of it looks impressive in isolation. All of it is interest quietly accumulating on a principle nobody can actually see. This is why the person who shows up consistently, even without any kind of a charisma or any kind of a polished pitch or any preparation, eventually outperforms the person who actually dazzles once and disappears. Charisma is a moment, trust is a ledger. The room isn't selling access to other people's business. It's slowly, deliberately building the one thing that makes any of these businesses worth connecting to in the first place. So, why does a referral beat an advertisement every single time? An advertisement asks you to trust a stranger's claim about themselves. A referral asks you to trust someone who already trusts them and lends that trust to you for free. This is what behavioral economists actually call risk transfer. When my accountant recommends her plumber, she isn't just passing along a phone number, she's quietly staking her own reputation on the outcome. If he does a bad work, some of that actually goes on to reflect on her, and that's not a small thing. That's reputation collateral, and it's exactly why a two-line referral can go on to outperform a five-figure ad campaign. It isn't louder, but it's genuinely safer. Cold sales asks a stranger to take a risk on you. A referral asks them to take a risk on someone they already trust who happens to be vouching for you. Some of the smallest movements reveal some of the biggest principles. At one meeting, the group paused to recognize its members who were actually doctors. Nothing elaborate, there was no keynote, it was just a moment of acknowledgement on a day set aside for them, which was Doctor's Day. It would be very easy to actually dismiss this and carry on with the whole ceremony, but they didn't. Communities that function well don't just exchange favors, they make a habit of noticing contribution, especially the kind that usually goes unnoticed by every single other person. A doctor's work rarely gets applauded in the room where it actually happens. Here, for 30 seconds, it actually did. That's not sentimentality, it's maintenance. Relationships, ladies and gentlemen, like trust, don't sustain themselves on transactions alone. They need moments where contribution is seen or named, or the whole structure slowly, quietly gets eroded. Let's be honest about the limits, because pretending otherwise would break the trust this whole video is built on. A networking club alone cannot guarantee you business. It cannot replace a product that doesn't work. It cannot manufacture trust on your behalf. It can only give you a room in which you get to earn it yourself. It cannot compensate for inconsistency, for poor delivery, or a service that nobody actually needs. This is precisely where most disappointment engages, and this is also a place where most disappointment originates, right? Because most people actually join expecting a shortcut, right? When what they've actually joined is a long-term system that actually rewards patience and punishes impatience almost immediately. Strip away the mythology for some time and let's actually see what's left. And what's actually left is something that is much smaller and more honest. A room, a habit of showing up, a widening circle of people who know your name, a different vantage point on your own industry, conversations that wouldn't have happened otherwise, visibility that compounds slowly, a reputation built once and kept many promises at the same time. None of that actually guarantees an outcome. What it does is it shifts the odds, quietly making the right kind of opportunity statistically more likely to actually find you without ever promising that it will. So, are networking clubs magic? No. Are they a waste of time? Also, no. They are actually systems, And like every systems humans have ever built, their output depends entirely on what gets put in: participation, consistency, contribution, competence, trust. The room does not change your life at any point, right? It does not go on to change your life. What you consistently choose to do inside it might actually do. I didn't walk into the room to write about Business Networking International. I walked in and found something that had nothing to do with BNI at all: a live demonstration how trust actually is built between strangers, one small, unremarkable meeting at a time. The club was never the subject, it was simply the place I happened to be standing when I finally saw it coming together and finally saw all of that making sense.